When the Galactic Council demanded humanity surrender their illegal technologies and accept permanent second-class citizenship, Ambassador Elena Vasquez had just one word for them: no. The gleaming halls of the Galactic Council station orbited the neutral world of Kepler 442b, a monument to 10,000 years of interspecies cooperation. Representatives from across the galaxy had gathered for what many believed would be a routine diplomatic session. They were wrong. Ambassador Elena Vasquez stood at the center of the massive amphitheater, surrounded by towering alien delegates. The crystalline Zephyrians chimed softly among themselves, their translucent forms refracting the chamber's light into prismatic rainbows. The imposing Corvillax delegation loomed 12 feet tall, their chitinous armor gleaming like black mirrors. Serpentine Nethys coiled in their specialized seating, forked tongues tasting the tension in the recycled air. High Counselor Zixathera, a being of pure energy contained within a crystalline matrix, spoke first. Her voice resonated through quantum harmonics, translated instantly into every delegate's native tongue. Human representative, you stand before this council accused of violation of Treaty Section 4.7 Alpha, unauthorized technological advancement, beyond prescribed limits. Elena's jaw tightened. For 3 months, humanity had endured these accusations. 3 months of diplomatic discussions that felt more like interrogations. 3 months of being told they were too dangerous, too unpredictable, too human. Furthermore, continued Zixathera, your species has been found in possession of quantum entanglement communication networks, self-replicating nanotechnology, and most concerning of all, weaponized artificial intelligence systems. These technologies exceed your classification level by at least 2 millennia. A murmur rippled through the assembly. The Galactic Council operated on a strict technological hierarchy. Species were classified based on their advancement and were only permitted technologies deemed appropriate for their development level. Humans had been classified as a Type 2 civilization, barely worthy of interstellar travel, let alone the technologies they had somehow developed. Ambassador Vasquez finally spoke, her voice cutting through the chamber like a blade. High Counselor, with respect, humanity developed these technologies through our own research and innovation. We violated no treaties because we never agreed to technological limitations in the first place. The chamber erupted in a cacophony of alien sounds, chirps, roars, harmonic frequencies, and subsonic growls. Several delegates activated their translation protocol simultaneously, creating a feedback loop of multilingual indignation. Counselor Fractoan of the Hegemony Alliance rose to his full 8-foot height, his insectoid features clicking with agitation. Impossible. No species advances this rapidly without external intervention. You must have stolen these technologies or received unauthorized assistance from a higher classification species. That's quite an accusation, Elena replied coolly. Perhaps you underestimated us. High Counselor Zixathera's energy form pulsed, with what the translation systems interpreted as irritation. Human, your species was contacted merely 57 standard years ago. In that time, you have demonstrated concerning tendencies toward violence, territorial expansion, and technological recklessness. The Galactic Council exists to maintain order and prevent younger species from destroying themselves, or others. Elena had heard this speech before. Always the same condescending tone, the same assumption that humanity needed to be managed like children with dangerous toys. She thought of Earth, of the billions of humans living their lives, creating art, solving problems, falling in love, reaching for the stars, all while being told they weren't mature enough for their own discoveries. The Council has prepared a formal remediation protocol, Zixathera continued. Humanity will surrender all technologies exceeding your classification level. Your AI systems will be dismantled, your quantum networks dissolved, and your nanotechnology research terminated. In return, the Council will provide you with appropriate alternatives, technologies more suited to your developmental stage. The Corvillax delegate, General Thexmore, stepped forward with thunderous footsteps. Additionally, Human military assets will be reduced by 75%. Your species has demonstrated an alarming propensity for conflict. This reduction will be supervised by Council peacekeepers. Elena felt something cold settle in her stomach. This wasn't negotiation, it was surrender. They wanted to strip humanity of everything that made them competitive, everything that made them dangerous, everything that made them human. And if we refuse? She asked quietly. The chamber fell silent. Even the Zephyrians stopped their musical communications. High Counselor Zixthera's energy form brightened ominously. Then humanity will be classified as a rogue species. You will be subject to immediate quarantine protocols. No trade, no communication, no travel beyond your solar system. Your entire species will be isolated until you comply with galactic standards. She paused, letting the threat sink in, or until you no longer pose a threat to galactic stability. Elena looked around the chamber at the assembled delegates. Some watched with what might have been pity, if their alien features could express such concepts. Others radiated satisfaction, pleased to see the upstart humans finally being put in their place. A few seemed genuinely concerned about the escalating tension. She thought about her briefing before coming here. The Earth Defense Council had been divided. Some wanted to negotiate, to find a compromise that would preserve humanity's independence while appeasing the galactic community. Others had argued for defiance, regardless of the consequences. We need time to consider your offer, Elena said carefully. You have already had 3 months to consider. Counselor Vraktoan clicked impatiently. The galaxy grows weary of human intransigence. 12 hours, High Counselor Zixthara declared. You will return to this chamber in 12 standard hours, with your species' formal acceptance of the remediation protocol. This is not a negotiation, it is an ultimatum. Elena nodded slowly. 12 hours. Understood. As she turned to leave, she heard the Nethys delegate, Ambassador Silthis, speak in her sibilant whisper. Perhaps if the humans had been more cooperative from the beginning, such measures would not be necessary. Elena stopped walking. Something in those words, the casual dismissal, the assumption that humanity should have simply rolled over and accepted limitations on their own development, caused something to snap inside her. She turned back to face the assembly. You know what? I don't think we need 12 hours. High Counselor Zixthera's energy form flickered. Excuse me? I said we don't need 12 hours to consider your ultimatum. Elena's voice carried clearly through the vast chamber. Because our answer is no. The silence in the chamber was absolute. Even the ambient hum of the station's life support system seemed to pause. No? High Counselor Zixthera's translated voice carried notes of disbelief. No, Elena repeated firmly. No to your technological restrictions. No to your military oversight. No to your condescending assumption that you know what's best for humanity. And absolutely no to being treated like dangerous children who can't be trusted with their own discoveries. General Thexmore's armor plates rattled as he shifted aggressively. Human, you do not comprehend the gravity of this situation. The combined military might of the Galactic Council will do what exactly? Elena interrupted. Invade Earth? Massacre billions of innocents because we refuse to limit our own scientific advancement? She looked around the chamber. Is that what the Great Galactic Council has become? A protection racket that threatens genocide when its authority is questioned? Counselor Vraktoan's mandibles clicked rapidly. You speak of matters beyond your understanding. The technological restrictions exist for the safety of all species. Safety? Elena laughed, a sound sharp enough to cut glass. Whose safety? Because from where I'm standing it looks like you're afraid. Afraid that a species you've had contact with for less than 60 years has already matched or exceeded many of your own capabilities. She began walking around the chamber's perimeter, addressing different sections of delegates. For 10,000 years you've had a nice orderly system. Everyone knows their place. Everyone follows the rules. Everyone advances at the prescribed pace, receives the approved technologies, and never, ever threatens the established hierarchy. And then humanity showed up. Elena continued her circuit of the chamber, her voice growing stronger with each word. We didn't follow your timeline. We didn't ask permission to invent quantum computers or develop artificial consciousness. We didn't submit our research for approval before creating nanotechnology that can repair cellular damage or build structures at the atomic level. We did what humans do. We looked at a problem, and we solved it. We saw a limitation and we overcame it. We faced the impossible and we made it possible. Several delegates began speaking at once, but Elena's voice cut through the chaos. You want to know why we advanced so quickly? It's not because we stole your technology or received help from some secret ally. It's because we're not afraid of failure. Every species in this chamber has been part of your galactic community for millennia. You've become comfortable, complacent. When you encounter a problem, you consult the approved solutions. When you need new technology, you wait for it to be developed by someone else and then request permission to use it. Humans don't work that way. When we see a wall, we don't ask for permission to climb it. We build a ladder. When someone tells us something is impossible, we take that as a challenge, not a commandment. High Counselor Zixathera's energy form pulsed angrily. Your recklessness endangers the stability of galactic civilization. Our recklessness? Elena spun to face the High Counselor directly. Let me tell you about human recklessness. We were reckless enough to leave our home planet when we barely understood the technology. We were reckless enough to attempt faster-than-light travel with primitive engines that had a 30% chance of creating a black hole. We were reckless enough to approach first contact with curiosity instead of fear. Reckless enough to share our discoveries freely with species that clearly saw us as a threat from day one. She paused, letting her words sink in. And we were reckless enough to believe that joining the galactic community meant cooperation, not subjugation. Ambassador, Silthus slithered forward slightly. You speak of cooperation, yet you refuse to comply with regulations that have maintained peace for millennia. Elena turned to face the Nethys delegate. Peace for whom? Your regulations maintain the status quo, nothing more. They ensure that no one challenges the existing power structure, that no one develops technologies that might shift the balance of influence in the galaxy. You're not afraid of human recklessness. You're afraid of human innovation. You're terrified that a species you've known for less than a century might develop something you can't control or replicate. General Thexmore stomped forward. Humans are a warrior species. Your history is filled with violence, conquest, and destruction. Yes, Elena said simply. It is. We've fought wars, conquered territories, and made mistakes that cost millions of lives. We've also ended slavery, developed medicine that saves billions, created art that moves souls, and reached across the void to shake hands with beings we'd never imagined. Every species in this chamber has a violent past. The difference is that we don't pretend otherwise. We don't hide behind a veneer of civility while threatening entire civilizations with extinction for the crime of being too successful too. Quickly, she looked directly at General Thexmore. You want to talk about warrior species? The Corvilax conquered 47 systems before joining the Council. The Hegemony Alliance literally has the word alliance in their name because they absorbed 12 smaller species. The Nethys Empire spans 3 galactic arms. But when humans develop defensive technologies and refuse to be limited by arbitrary restrictions, suddenly, we're the dangerous ones. Elena returned to the center of the chamber, standing beneath the Great Seal of the Galactic Council, a symbol that once represented hope for humanity's future among the stars. You've made your position clear, she said. You want humanity to accept technological limitations, military oversight, and permanent second-class status in the galactic community. You've threatened us with isolation, economic sanctions, and what amounts to civilizational exile. Let me make humanity's position equally clear. She touched a control on her wrist device, and suddenly the chamber's main display activated, showing a real-time image of Earth from space. The blue marble hung in the void, city lights twinkling on the night side, weather patterns swirling across the day side. That world contains 8 billion human beings. They're not politicians or diplomats or military leaders. They're farmers and teachers and artists and engineers. They're parents worried about their children's future and children dreaming of touching the stars. You've spent 3 months trying to convince me that they're too dangerous to be trusted with their own discoveries, that their ingenuity and determination somehow threaten the galaxy, that their refusal to accept limitations makes them a rogue species. Elena's voice hardened. I've got news for you. If humanity is a rogue species, then we've been rogues since the first human looked at fire and decided to control it instead of flee from it. We've been rogues since the first human looked at the ocean and built a boat, since the first human looked at the sky and dreamed of flying. We've been rogues since the moment we decided that impossible was just another word for haven't figured it out yet. High Counselor Zixthera's energy form blazed with barely contained power. You realize what you are doing, human? You are declaring your species an enemy of galactic civilization. No, Elena replied calmly. I'm declaring that humanity will not be bullied into abandoning what makes us human. We will continue to innovate, to explore, to push boundaries. We will develop technologies that seem impossible and solve problems that others have given up on. And if that makes us enemies in your eyes, then so be it. The chamber erupted again, but this time Elena raised her voice above the chaos. But here's what you seem to be forgetting in your rush to punish us for our success. The noise gradually died down as delegates realized she wasn't finished. Humanity didn't ask to be contacted. We didn't beg for membership in your galactic community. You came to us. You offered us partnership, trade, and mutual cooperation. You spoke of the wonders of galactic civilization and the benefits of joining a peaceful alliance of worlds. What you didn't mention was that partnership meant permanent subordination. That trade meant accepting technological limitations. That cooperation meant surrendering our right to determine our own destiny. Elena looked around the chamber one more time. We trusted you. We believed that joining the galactic community would make us better, would help us grow and learn and contribute to something greater than ourselves. Instead, we discovered that your community is built on fear. Fear of change, fear of innovation, fear of anyone who might challenge the established order. So here's humanity's formal response to your ultimatum, Elena continued. We reject your technological restrictions. We reject your military oversight. We reject your classification system and your condescending assumption that you know what's best for our species. But we don't reject the possibility of future cooperation. This caught several delegates by surprise. Murmurs of confusion rippled through the chamber. Humanity is willing to work with any species that approaches us as equals. We're willing to share our discoveries with those who share theirs in return. We're willing to defend those who would defend us, and to stand together against genuine threats to galactic peace. What we will not do is accept second-class citizenship in our own galaxy. High Counselor Zixthera's voice came as a barely controlled whisper. You are making a terrible mistake, human. Maybe, Elena acknowledged. Humans make mistakes all the time. The difference is that we learn from them, adapt, and try again. We don't spend millennia following the same safe, predictable patterns because change is scary. She turned toward the chamber's exit, then paused. Oh, and one more thing. That quarantine you threatened, consider it pre-approved. Humanity hereby withdraws from all Galactic Council protocols, trade agreements, and mutual defense treaties. If you want to isolate us, you won't have to lift a finger. We'll do it ourselves. As Elena reached the chamber's main entrance, General Thexmore called after her. You cannot survive alone, human. Your species lacks the resources, the technology, the alliances necessary to thrive in isolation. Elena stopped at the threshold and turned back one final time. When she spoke, her voice carried the quiet confidence of someone who had made an irrevocable decision and found peace with it. General, with respect, you have no idea what humans are capable of when we're pushed too far. For 57 years, we've been trying to fit into your system, follow your rules, earn your approval. We've been polite, diplomatic, and accommodating. We've accepted your limitations and worked within your framework. But every human child learns a simple truth growing up. Push too hard, and even the friendliest dog will eventually bite. Gestured toward the display still showing Earth. You've been dealing with humanity at our most civilized, our most restrained. You've seen us when we're trying to be good galactic citizens. You really don't want to see what we're like when we stop trying to fit in." The chamber fell silent once more. Even the ambient sounds of the station seemed muted. Elena's final words carried clearly to every delegate present. Humanity came to the stars in ships held together with determination and duct tape. We've survived ice ages, plagues, world wars, and our own worst impulses. We've turned deserts into gardens and split the atom with slide rules and stubbornness. If you think isolation scares us, you haven't been paying attention. She walked through the entrance, leaving behind the stunned assembly of galactic representatives. Behind her, High Counselor Zixthara's energy form flickered uncertainly as she realized that humanity's ambassador might not have been making empty threats. For the first time in 10,000 years of galactic civilization, the Council had been told no by a species they had tried to control. And for the first time in 10,000 years, they had no idea what to do about it. 3 standard days later, long-range sensors detected massive energy signatures throughout the Sol system. Humanity had begun construction of something the Galactic Council's best scientists couldn't identify, structures that seemed to exist, partially outside normal spacetime, connected by quantum networks that operated on principles no Council species had mastered. Humanity had kept their word. They had withdrawn from galactic civilization completely, but they hadn't stopped advancing. And in the deepest corridors of the Council station, certain delegates began to wonder if they had just made the greatest mistake in galactic history. The humans, it seemed, had taken isolation not as punishment, but as permission to stop holding back.